the best way I can explain the scream or howl is whatever it was in pain, but not physical pain. Like I just saw my mother die kind of pain right in front of me. And it's just, I'm sorry, I'm a little overwhelmed. The lungs on this thing, the voice, and how it got closer and closer and louder. Like we never heard any footsteps or anything like that. But I mean, I felt like it was literally 5 to 10 feet away from us. And one of the guys that was with us, he was one of the biggest, toughest guys in school. You know, he was really tough dude, and he was the first one that started running.
Hi there, you're listening to the Bigfoot Society podcast, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Every week I talk to individuals who have experienced Sasquatch in some way or another, so you won't want to miss an episode. Make sure you're subscribed on the platform that you're listening to, and share this episode with a friend. It does not cost a thing, and it helps the show continue to grow. If you'd like to hear Bigfoot Society episodes early and ad-free, you can do so by becoming a Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel member. Links to those are in the show notes. In Bigfoot Society, I've taken far too much of your time so far, so let's get on with the show. Bigfoot Society, we've got a special follow-up episode based on the episode 298 that just released earlier today. Before I play the follow-up interview, we also have our first encounter voicemail that came in from a gentleman named Darren about what he experienced. So enjoy that first few minutes. Also, talk to a gentleman named Dominic who encountered something in the late 80s. It was very similar to what Swamp Dog shared in his episode that was released earlier today. It's a first for Bigfoot Society, and be interesting to see what comes of this. Was there a creature that was going around this area of Jersey in the late 80s, early 90s? We'll have to see what comes of this. But enjoy this encounter voicemail and short interview with Dominic from South Jersey.
Hello, my name's Darren Hahn, and back in 2000, me and my brother went out west. Can go traveling all around the West and see the sights, national parks, monuments, and all that. And we camped out just about everywhere. And when we came to Washington State, we wanted to climb up Mount St. Helens. And so we got a permit and everything. And we set up the tent, ate, went to sleep. So I woke up. It was like midnight or 1 o'clock, and I had to go to the bathroom. My brother was still asleep, and I heard this deep, like, scream or yell, or it did not sound like any person or animal. It was a frightening scream, like a roar, and it was eye-opening and scary because I never heard anything like that in my life. And just wanted to let you know that. All right, well, I'm signing off. Bye-bye.
Special thank you to Darren for sending in his Bigfoot encounter on the Bigfoot Encounter hotline. You can send in your encounter if you'd like to by clicking on the link in the show notes for this episode. And we would love to share your voicemail about what you've encountered as well. All right, let's get into our interview with Dominic about what he also encountered during the same time frame that Swamp Dog was having his encounters as well. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got a special update episode here. And this is just happening really quick after the latest episode with Swamp Dog that came out pretty recently, earlier today. And I had a gentleman reach out to me about some interesting things that he has had happen. And so, Dominic, how's it going today?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great. I appreciate you having me on. I'm really excited. This is pretty neat. The validation is overwhelming for me right now since I just heard the episode. So, excuse me if I sound a little excited or anxious or whatever, but the validation is just overwhelming right now. I can't explain. After hearing Swamp Dog talk about those screams and how it got closer and louder, it blew my mind. And especially being from South Jersey, it was just, I can't explain the validation right now. It's just crazy.
Absolutely. So kind of, lay out like what section of the podcast with Swamp Dog kind of jogged your memory, and what area of your life did it bring you back to when you heard that?
Okay, well, I mean, I always thought about it over the years. I've always, wondered what it was. I thought it was Bigfoot, and I switched maybe something out, but I don't know. But after hearing his story, it's crazy. It was 1989, 1990. I was like 15 or 16 years old. Born and raised in South Jersey, a place called Catalina Hills. And it's a really neat woods back there. There's a really cool creek and big pits. It's called the Lion's Pit, and it was just a really neat place to grow up. And it was baseball fields, 2 baseball fields, and they were basically surrounded by the woods. And it was probably around springtime. I was probably 15 or 16, and me and about 5 of my friends were at the baseball field messing around, riding our bikes and hooting and hollering and everything. And we started hearing this, I don't know what to call it, a howl or like a type of growl in the distance. And we just dismissed it as a dog. But then it started getting louder and louder and closer. And we're like, that's no dog. That is not a dog. It was the best way I can explain the scream or howl is whatever it was in pain, but not physical pain. Like I just saw my mother die kind of pain right in front of me. And it's just, I'm sorry, I'm a little overwhelmed just hearing the other podcast. It's blowing my mind. Anyway, like I said, we thought it was, we didn't think it was a dog, but we just dismissed it as that, kids, nobody wanted to act scared or anything. But I mean, the lungs on this thing, the voice, and how it got closer and closer and louder. Like we never heard any footsteps or anything like that. But I mean, I felt like it was literally 5 to 10 feet away from us. And one of the guys that was with us, he was one of the biggest, toughest guys in school. He was really tough dude. And he was the first one that started running. And when we saw him run, we just took off. We ran for our lives. It was, I don't know. Like I've told people this story over the years and everybody said, oh, whatever. But hearing Swamp Dog tell that, I can't tell you the validation. It was a crazy, crazy experience. Since then, I've been a big Bigfoot believer. It was probably about 20 miles or so from the Pine Barrens. These woods might even be connected to the Pine Barrens. I'm not sure, but there was definitely something there. It definitely wasn't human. It definitely was not any animal that would be in our woods in New Jersey. Because, even if we had a bears don't sound like that. We didn't have really anything that was raccoons, squirrels. So, whatever it definitely wasn't a dog. It was just an unbelievable howl, scream. And like I said, it just sounded like it was like an absolute pain of some sort. And it sounded vicious, like it sounded mad. I mean, it was really, and it was just so loud and overwhelming. And me and my friends, I don't ever remember talking about it with them again. I don't know. And like you said, years later, stuff triggers you remember it. I'm sure watching Bigfoot shows and all that stuff always made me wonder. But to him tell exactly like it happened to us just blows my mind, or Motley Crue or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was, it really was. And we were just, I keep trying to remember. I'm sure we were making noise and all that stuff, but the way it just was like in the distance faint and just kept getting closer and closer. And, we stopped and started listening, and we didn't hear any footsteps, but I mean, it was so loud. I mean, it had to be 5 to 10 feet away from us. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, I'm curious. I mean, from what, you see on TV or whatever, Bigfoot usually doesn't sound like that. So I don't know, what it was. Could it have been the Jersey Devil? Maybe. Could have been Bigfoot? Maybe, but it was not a dog. It was not, like I said, no animal. Not like anything you ever heard before in your life.
Well, see, that's a really interesting thought, Dominic, because, we know that there are Bigfoot in New Jersey, and especially, you've got like the big red eye creature up in Sussex County. That's pretty popular. But, hearing the scream, you bring up a good point. Potentially, you could be dealing with something like the Jersey Devil or even something like a Dogman. I mean, who's to know what's in the woods around these pine barrens, which, I've heard before are a pretty wild area.
Yeah. You always hear, stories here, but Dogman, I didn't even think of Dogman because that makes a lot of sense too. The howl, the scream was like I said, at first, they're like, we just dismiss it as a dog, but as it got closer and louder, we're like, that is not a dog. And, yeah, Dogman, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Something of that nature. Yeah. Yeah. Just crazy.
When you were listening to Swamp Dog, did you try to figure out how close the area that you had your encounter is to the area where he had?
I Googled it up. Violent, I think it was about 25 to 30 miles from where I was. So it's pretty far. I think Vineland is probably about 40, 45-minute drive. I can get to up around the Pine Barrens, in probably like 25, 30 minutes tops. Because they are pretty big. The part that I know where the Pine Barrens are, I might even be closer than that than I never realized. But yeah, it's a big area. I mean, there's a lot of woods in New Jersey, like you said. It's not all, like North Jersey where everybody thinks it's New York and all that. And I'm, right next to Philadelphia, but there's tons of farms, tons and tons of woods, and really cool woods too. Like, really neat ones with the creeks, or, you guys call them creeks. We call them creeks in New Jersey. But yeah, it just, and I grew up in those woods. I played back there every day of my life. Was back there and never heard anything like that. Never had no eerie feelings, nothing like that, except for that one time. And I don't think I went back there much after that because, my baseball days were over. I was too old for that at the time, to play at those fields anyway. So I don't really know if I ever went back there, except for one time I took my kids back there to show it to them. I can't stress enough the validation to hear him say it exactly how it happened to us, and I don't know. I mentioned it to one of my friends on Facebook on a comment, and he never replied back. I was like, asked him if he remembered it, and he never replied back. So, and I'm only positive of 2 people that were there. I can't remember the other couple guys that were there, but the reason I remember the one guy is because, when we saw him run, we were like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say name, but he's taking off. Man, it was crazy. Luckily, I had a bike, so I was leading the pack. I was out of there. Part of me now wishes I would have just seen it, but yeah, exactly. It didn't sound like, part of me wishes I would have stayed and maybe sold something, but I think the way this thing was screaming, it was going to rip you apart if it saw you. Because I'm telling you, it was mad or upset. Like, not a physical pain, like my mom just died in my arms, kind of screamed pain, like is the best way I could describe it. And it was absolutely terrifying. And Swamp Dog is not kidding about that.
Have you heard of any other interesting stories that have come out from that area or from South Jersey that, kind of make you think what's going on around here? Or?
Yeah, everybody has a story in New Jersey, especially about the Jersey Devil. I remember my dad would always tell this story. He would be back there a lot. He hunted and all that stuff. And he used to take me back there a lot as a kid. But he always told this story about, but this one place we used to go where they would hear something really big on the roof all the time, something scratching, something with ripping through their trash. And he always said it was way too big to be any kind of animal. What kind of animal can get on the roof, So he definitely thinks it's a Jersey Devil, that's for sure, because he likes to tell that story. And they would go investigate it the next day. He said there would be shingles missing and stuff on the roof, and it happened a couple times. So that I've heard, and I don't know. Sorry, I'm just trying to think, but the Jersey Devil, it's definitely a thing. I mean, there's so many witnesses and all that. I'm sure some are made up and all that, but I'll tell you, after hearing that scream, I mean, hey, it's possible it was that, because like I said, we didn't hear any footsteps. And in the woods, you're going to hear something coming. I mean, with all the leaves crackling and all that stuff, I didn't hear any footsteps, So whether it was a Jersey Devil or not, like I said, I don't know. But it was something that wasn't human and or any kind of animal of this world that we know of, for sure.
Absolutely incredible. And so thank you for reaching out, Dominic. That's such a interesting anecdotal story from the late 80s. It happened the same time when Swamp Dog had his issues.
But it was the same time frame, 1990, right around there. But yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on. Let me story. And I love your podcast, and I appreciate Swamp Dog coming out there, because I can't tell you how much my mind's blown after hearing that. And the validation is absolutely amazing. Great.
Absolutely. So thanks for reaching out, Dominic, and keep an ear open. If you hear anything else, definitely let me know, man.
For sure. All right. Thank you, Jeremiah. I really appreciate your time and your podcast, and let me come on like this. This is great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Here at Bigfoot Society, our goal is to provide a platform for those that have encountered Bigfoot to share their encounter in a safe and respected environment. But we need to hear your story. If you've experienced something that you just can't explain, please send me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Then we can start the conversation. And I know a lot of you have not shared your encounter at all. It's been 20 years, and it's time that you get this off your chest, and then you can get some well-deserved rest, because I know you haven't been sleeping. I understand what you're going through, and I appreciate every one of you listening.